It's hard to win a game when you have 7 turnovers and a couple of them are pick-6s. It's difficult. That was the main point from BYU head coach Kalani Sitake after the 40-24 Cougar loss at Utah State on Friday night, and there wasn't much more to be said. "We are obviously disappointed with the loss," Sitake said. "There were way too many errors to overcome and have a chance to win this game." With just over 11 minutes to play in the second quarter, it looked like things were going in BYU's favor. The Cougars had an interception for a touchdown and 2 long TD passes on their way to a 21-7 advantage over the Aggies. BYU had lead, the ball, the momentum, the confidence, everything. Then 3 plays changed the entire tide of the game. Under heavy pressure, Cougar sophomore quarterback Bo Hogue tossed the ball short to an open receiver. It glanced off the shoulder pad of an Aggie defender and right to senior cornerback Jalen Davis, who returned the interception 30 yards to the end zone. That in and of itself wasn't insurmountable, but the worst was yet to come. 2 plays into the next drive, Hogue kept the ball on a red option and went around the right side for a 7-yard gain. But when the play ended, he stayed on the ground. Hogue looked shaky when he stood up, and although his frustration was clearly evident, he was taken straight to the locker room and did not return. It wasn't obvious then, but that would be a loss BYU wouldn't be able to overcome. The Cougars turned the offense over to sophomore Koy Detmer Jr., the third-string QB at the start of the season. BYU tried to ease Detmer into the game by running the ball, but a costly false start penalty halted the first Cougar drive, then a fumble by freshman running back Ulula Toledo halted the second drive, and a snap that sailed over Detmer's head for a 22-yard loss halted a third. The bad snap ended up giving Utah State not excellent field position, and the Aggies took advantage with a perfect 36-yard touchdown pass from senior quarterback Hent Myers to junior wide receiver Ryan Quavian Tarver to tie the game. Detmer had completed his first 2 passes, but never saw Aggie safety Dallin Levitt, a former Cougar, on his next throw, and the result was an interception. That was the first of 5 straight possessions where BYU gave Utah State the ball on turnovers, another fumble by Toledo, another interception by Detmer, a turnover on downs, and a fumble by sophomore Austin Kafensis. Even with all of those mistakes, the Cougar defense kept BYU in the game. It only allowed a pair of Aggie field goals, making the score 27-21 heading into the fourth quarter. But on the first play of the final period, Meyer found an opening and raced in for a 19-yard TD run to make it a 2-score game. The Cougars drove deep into Utah State territory off a big pass from Detmer to senior wide receiver Jonah Trineman, but a holding call nullified a touchdown, and BYU had to settle for another field goal. The last hope of a miracle comeback was snuffed out when Detmer's third interception went to Davis, who took it in for a second pick-6. Sitake said that, while the loss of Hogue hurt, his Cougars didn't make enough plays. "It was huge, but there were a lot of things that factored into the loss of the game," Sitake said. "We saw some positive things, but there were a lot of mistakes and negative things that overcame the positives. Our guys are really disappointed. It was such a different feeling than the first 19 minutes of the game." Utah State had the upper hand in the early going, scoring a touchdown on a pass from Myers to former Timpview star Dax Raymond on the opening drive. The Aggies then forced BYU into 2 straight 3-and-outs and had good field position. But the Cougars changed everything on a 3rd-and-1 play as BYU senior safety Micah Hanneman read a wide receiver screen play and stepped in front. After juggling for a moment, he secured the ball and raced 46 yards to the end zone to tie the game. That fired up the visitors and BYU roared in front. The first Cougar offensive touchdown came on a perfectly executed trick play as sophomore Kafensis took the snap, handed it to sophomore Micah Simon on the end around, who flipped it to Hogue on the reverse. Hogue then fired a strike to junior running back Braden El Bakri, who broke a tackle and dove into the end zone for the 26-yard score. BYU doubled the lead when Hogue lofted a deep pass to junior Bo Tanner. Tanner's leaping grab in the end zone was initially ruled out of bounds, but the review showed he got the side of his foot down first, and the 40-yard TD counted. That would basically be the only success for the Cougars on offense, even though they outgained the Aggies in total offense by more than 100 yards, 396-288.